Look at me. It's just a bit of blood. Forget it. It's always been like this. Look at my eyes. Kiss my lips, kiss my lips.
The piece is called No One Is More Work Than Me. Part of it was to do with the very fact that this is the first piece that I've ever made that's kind of durational in this way. So it's an 8-hour-long performance. So it was delivered live via this CG avatar, which then is in this room on a gigantic screen next to a performer. And basically the idea was really to kind of encounter that duration as a kind of labor, really, but a digitized one. So very literally, very literally this figure that is not present, that is dematerialized in certain ways in a kind of digital way, but is also there delivering, pitching themselves basically. They're kind of advertising themselves in certain ways. Basically, it's about what work might be in a digital kind of context. So obviously there's the original source of this, which is me for 8 hours, a kind of working day in front of this performance capture camera, recording this sales pitch in a way, which is the CG avatar sort of attempting to ingratiate themselves really for 8 hours, I mean, they're kind of repulsive and horrible. One of the things that I've always been interested in, or recently in a lot of the work, is what another product of kind of so-called immaterial labor is, working on computers all the time and in kind of markets that exist like that in a freelance kind of way. And some of those products obviously are things like alienation and depression and an emotional kind of response to those ways of working. And this piece was really a kind of literalizing of a certain kind of a working day where this person was right on the edge of kind of collapse in certain ways. But they're also very obviously, this CG avatar, it's just a head. It's just this floating head on a chroma key blue void, really. And then next to it is the body. So there's a performer who will be there constantly, sat next to the screen, who is wearing a chroma key blue hood, which is something I've used before in other performance works. And they will be there kind of as the surrogate body for this avatar, really. And I guess I want the experience in there to be quite intense, but also something where both parties, both the kind of embodied physical performer who's in there and this CG avatar who's not there, that they kind of end up in this kind of weird position where they're both not quite real, not quite fully themselves, not really allowed to be themselves in certain ways. But it was just the possibility of this. I've never really engaged wholeheartedly with performance, and particularly not the kind of possibility of something that just continues and unspools like this.
You want your freedom. Well, who am I? It's got a message. It's got a message. Don't worry about it. Look, it's a bruise. That's my actual bruise. It's a bruise up there. There's my brow. That's my eyebrows. It's blood.
Technically, because I've been doing this for quite a while, I've been using Avatar. I've been using sort of computer-generated imagery a lot. I already knew the way that I was going to do it. The more challenging thing was just, again, the duration, was me sitting there in front of the motion capture camera, the laptop, everything processing live, so that basically there's a lot of judders in it, which have this kind of strange interruption on the image, but they also speak of the fact that the computer is working very hard. The computer itself is whirring away. You can hear it in the background. It's doing all the heavy lifting, really. Of all of this apparently immaterial stuff, it's working really hard, So it wasn't so much about the kind of the idea seemed to come quite naturally for the thing, and executing it was just geeing myself up into like, okay, I'll have a drink and I'll just do it, yeah.
Eyes. No, not even like or lotus leaves. Eyes. No, not even eyes. Look into my eyes. Not even eyes. They're my actual eyes. These are my actual eyes. They're not even eyes. Not even eyes. Not even like. Not even like.
The 14 Rooms thing has a kind of tacit set of rules, really, about what it is that people will encounter. even though they are kind of incredibly ambiguous, productively ambiguous about sort of encountering bodies and sculptures and these things that really are not, you're not encountering a performance per se, but it's an idea of performance as totally embedded in contemporary life, that we're never not performing in a way. And I think that that's particularly conspicuous in a digital situation of relating to people down Skype, or like engaging with the world mediated by a laptop. That what it is that you kind of put forth as your perfect version of self on Facebook or whatever, all of these sorts of things. So it's evolved practically, but it's very much still the original idea of kind of what it is to have this avatar perform into a human duration, not just for a film, but into just an 8-hour-long chunk of life of this thing.
Special something, somewhere, you find that very special someone. Look in my eyes. It's always been like this. It's always been like this. It's always been like this. What this? What this? It's only this. But that's a bit of blood. Tiny bit of blood. Look at me. Jesus. Just a bit of blood. It's just a bit of blood. Just a bit of blood. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Fuck it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's always been like this. It's always been like this. Do us a favour, yeah? And shut the fuck up. Do us a favour, yeah? And fuck off. Do us a favour, yeah? Shh. Listen. Listen. Listen to this. Listen. Seriously, I don't know.